Hello, today I'll be talking about the water table and the Viduc zone. These two elements are really important since they are part of a process that forms aquifers or even regenerates them from our consumption. What aquifers are huge bodies of water that are underground. These bodies of water are really important to us. It's the water we usually consume, we give it to our animals, and even use to irrigate our crops. First of all, you ask yourself, how does the water get down to earth so deep? And where is that water from? And that water is from the rain. And here in the video, I'll be explaining it as gravitational water, since it's a more exact term than rain, since there will be water everywhere going up, down. So the gravitational water will be the one that's usually goes up and up from the surface downward. And that's why it's really important to point that out. So first of all, when it rains, water doesn't all end up getting soaked by the earth. It depends on the porosity of the soil and other factors. For example, if the soil is too compact, the water will end up sliding and going to a huge body of water like lakes, rivers, or even the ocean. Also, water, if it's too compacted, might just be there and slowly evaporate with the sun. And what we usually see is that happening due to our new ways of living, in which we compact a lot the soil. The other way is that water gets absorbed by the soil or even the plants. But the important part is when it gets absorbed by the soil. That's due to its porosity. And depending on the porosity or the contents of the soil, the water will go down faster or slower. Depends on that. Like if you have how it's called, clay soil, the water will go down slowly, but it can end up getting more saturated at the bottom. And I'll start explaining what the water table is and the Viduc zone. The Viduc zone is the area that's closest to the surface. It's consisting mostly of organic material and the type of soil that is in different areas. But the Viduc zone is the area of unsaturated water. Basically, there's no water if it's not raining. And the water table is the area where there's saturation of too much water. So you have an area where it's a lot of water, the water table, or the saturated, or you have the Viduc zone, the area that is unsaturated and doesn't have water. But when it rains, you have the gravitational water going down, and depending on the porosity of the soil, it will go down and meet the water table. The water table could rise or go even lower depending on the rain or the amount of rain there is. And all of this is really important to that, since that forms the aquifers. Also, it's really important to know that some places the soil is so compacted that water basically doesn't go through and ends up getting lost, going to rivers, into the ocean, or getting evaporated fastly, and not even for the consumption of plants, since most likely plants are not there since the soil is so compacted. It's important to know that we should take care of their soil and everything, since there are problems forming now that will later impact future generations. For example, here I have land and I decide to fertilize it, but if I fertilize it like a lot more than it needs, usually the water gets soaked by, or when it rains, it gets pulled down by the gravitational water. The particles of the fertilizer seep down into the water table, and the water table later will seep down to the aquifers, and that's basically contaminating our water. So we should take care of the soil and how we work with our crops. It's simple as that. And with the simple explanation that gravitational water goes down and reaches the water table, increasing it or decreasing it depending if there's rain or not. People should realize that if they don't take care of the top part of the soil, like water's a filter, and usually particles are small enough to go through the soil and reach the water table, contaminating it. So we should take care of how we work with our crops. It's simple as that. And with the simple explanation that gravitational water goes down and reaches the water table, increasing it or decreasing it depending if there's rain or not. People should realize that if they don't take care of the top part of the soil, like water's a filter, and usually particles are small enough to go through the soil and reach the water table, contaminating it. So we should take care of how that is done. Basically, people should realize that if we fertilize or we use pesticides a lot, that water will end up, the water that falls from the rain will end up getting contaminated, and later on, not maybe in the recent years, but like in 50 years, people say the water was contaminated 50 years ago because of the people doing wrong what they were taught. So it's important for people to know how the Vedues and the water table work, that this is a relationship in which water falls and goes through a certain area of soil and joins a saturated area of water that will later go down even deeper and form aquifers. And most of our water has, like I had said before, comes from these aquifers. So it's important for us to realize that if we don't take care of the soil that's on top, we will end up contaminating the water that's below us. So it's really important for people to realize that they should do well their practices of pesticides and fertilization. Also, contamination is a big part of this. So people should realize that they have to take care of right now, since it's not that much of an impact right now, but later on we will see the impact that was produced by these bad practices. So thank you. And that was like a slight introduction of what's the water table and the causes and effects of humans and how we mess with the system of nature.